What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to take a look at Goldie Roger. This is the big new card from OP09, the Gold Manga Rare. And the other day I showed you the most valuable cards from OP09, and I told you that it was, by a huge margin, I do mean a huge margin, the most valuable, most expensive set we've had so far. Part of that is the fact that it comes with 4 manga rares, and part of that is the fact that we've got this Goldie Roger. And then, of course, we've got other stuff like wanted posters, including Luffy, and other special rares, including Nami, and it's a big set, all right? It's a very big set. But the Goldie Roger, the other day I told you, as a very rough guide, about 700,000 yen was a fair assumption of roughly what it was worth. And I showed you literal images from the moment I was recording the video to back it up. I wasn't just throwing random numbers out there, but it was a couple of days after the set had released. It was still very new, and I told you things were going to change. So what I've gone and done is I've had a look around a bunch of places, and we're going to try and settle right now, as of this moment, exactly what the Goldie Roger, the gold manga rare, is actually worth, with the usual gigantic caveat that this is still very new and that things will change. And obviously we're looking at the Japanese version here, we're not looking at the English version. This is a rough guide that we've got at the moment for roughly what this stuff should be worth, but as always, things can change. Cool. One thing that's not changing is I'm still doing my Whatnot stream, 7:30 PM UK time on Friday. That is tomorrow as I record this. We're doing a bunch of Premium Booster 01, bunch of Pirate Flag Hollows, Parallel Dawn. It's going to be awesome. Come along, use the invite code whatnot.com/invite/thewassie to get yourself £10 credit and come along and play, or just come and chat One Piece with us. Either's good. So a good starting point right now is a website I like to use, which when I showed you the other day, didn't have a listing. It does now for 500,000 yen. And they haven't even added an image of the card in yet, which is weird because the official scans are available on the official website. But the point I'm making is, when I made this video the other day, a couple days after the release of OP09, this website legitimately didn't even have a listing. It wasn't even listed on the website. Now it is listed at about 500,000 yen. And if anyone's wondering, well, hang on a second, Wassy, why was there no listing? They were waiting and seeing. Now, it might have been they literally had no stock because the pull rates are incredibly low, or it could have been just a case of they were waiting to see exactly what it shook out as. And I don't blame them for that, incidentally, because, well, it's a new kind of card. They didn't want to sell it for much less than it was worth. So, and that's probably their main concern. Let's face it, a shop doesn't really mind if it's selling for way more than it's worth, but they do mind if they're selling it a lot less. I'm not casting aspersions on the shop. This is what I'm thinking. Come on, it's shops. They're there to make money. Point is, they didn't have a listing before. They do have a listing now for 500,000 yen. So it's probably fair to then compare that to the manga rares. Big manga rare right now, Luffy, at the same shop, 250,000 yen. It's Luffy. It's manga rare Luffy. If anybody's wondering, because let's face it, I'm totally wondering as well, if we compare that to the Luffy from OP05 at the same shop, that is currently 400,000 yen, which is actually not that much less than Goldie Roger, however, is less than Roger. Let's be perfectly clear. So we've got Roger at 500,000 yen, we've got Luffy at 250,000 yen, and then the others, there is a fair jump down from there. I think it's fair to say. So we've got ourselves Shanks at 150,000 yen, and we've got Blackbeard, Marshall D. Teach, at 150,000 yen, and then by far the cheapest of them, feel free to be upset about this or not, that's up to you, but Buggy at 100,000 yen. And honestly, at this shop, Buggy at 100,000 yen is too high. As an example, here is another shop over in Japan. They have gone and tweeted out they are selling Buggy for 70,000 yen. So the reason I'm giving you that comparison is to show you this shop I've got. It's got an actual listing online that you can buy right now. It's got all the cards that are up there for an easy comparison, but it is a little bit high, and it's listing it there for 500,000 yen. So 500,000 yen is a good starting point, but 500,000 yen is also a little bit low. Now, this is the point in the video where you're all going, wassy, wassy, wassy. We're not all in Japan. We don't all work in yen. What is 500,000 yen in terms of dollars? Excellent question. As of the moment I record this video, 500,000 yen equates to roughly $3,500. It's 3,478, but let's just round it easily to $3,500. That is a lot of money. But like I've said, generally speaking, little bit too high. Not amazingly so. This is on the higher end. And again, the whole point here is you're buying it from a shop. It is giving you all the protections you get from buying it from a shop. We've got the knowledge that it is going to be properly mint and all of that unless told otherwise. But generally speaking, legit, but on the higher end. Well, where else can we look? Well, the other place to look is on Mercari. Now, Mercari is a little bit of a minefield. Mercari is basically eBay, but over in Japan, Mercari is used more widely than eBay. And if we have a look over on there, and like I told you the other day, it's defaulting to pounds, which is super annoying to me. But if we have a look defaulting to pounds over there, what I've done is I've scrolled to a sensible cross-section. This is about as low as they're tending to sell, and the low sales here are about £1,800. You can see there's one sold for $1,800 and a couple for sale for $1,700. But remember, this is Mercari. This is not a shop. You're not guaranteed the good condition here. These should be a little bit lower because we're not guaranteeing they're going to be super nice condition and all of that. You are taking a little bit of a risk. If we take the rough kind of, this is generally what they're selling for, £2,200. That is about the average that they're selling for, and some are selling for a bit more, but they're probably super good condition. Some are selling for a bit less, but they're probably on the rougher end. I'm not saying rough, I'm saying not absolutely perfectly mint. Let's go for £2,200. Again, not saying that they're perfect, but I'm saying this is a pretty good approximation. And £2,200, you're talking 415,000 yen. Again, it's a little bit less than I showed you in the shop, but I did tell you that was on the higher end, so this makes sense. And this is going to equate to around about pretty much exactly $2,900. And this is a more sensible estimation. But that phrase is very deliberate. It's a sensible estimation. I am not guaranteeing you can sell or buy a Goldie Roger for this much. It depends on who's willing to buy and sell at that moment. It depends on the condition of the card, etc. But I'm telling you that as a rough guide, this is a pretty good rough guide. About 415,000 yen, about $2,900 in Japan right now seems about right. The shop was a little bit higher than that, but as explained, the shop generally should be. But there's a lot of interesting things going on. So the shop DS Nipponbashi, they're the ones I showed you that are selling the Buggy for 70,000 yen. I'm not seeing tweets from them trying to sell Goldie Roger. Maybe they don't have any, or maybe they're still trying to work out the price. I don't know. But what else is really interesting is that this shop is advertising buy prices. As in, we want these cards, hence wanted at the top. We want these cards, and yes, the fact they want wanted posters is ironic and lovely. Here's what we're willing to pay. And they'll pay 200,000 for Luffy, 100,000 for Shanks and Blackbeard, 50,000 for Buggy. Which again, from everything I've told you in this video, that's fair. Those are fair buy prices. You walk into the shop, and as long as they're minty, you will get that much for those cards right now. Cool. But the interesting thing here is, although they're listing the wanted posters, which are all very sought after, and the Shanks leader, which right now, value-wise, is the number one leader in the set, Not saying it's going to remain that way, but I'm saying at the time of recording, it is the number one leader in the set. Beating out Luffy, interestingly. Shanks is the real sought-after leader right now. Well, they're not listing Goldie Roger on there. They're just not doing it. And I find this extremely interesting, and I'm sure if you walked into the shop, you could sell it, but maybe the pull rates are so low that they're just not advertising it because they'd rather just, if anyone brought it in, negotiate with them there and then. The fact that this is happening, that we're not seeing these prices being advertised, that is very, very unusual. I cannot remember a One Piece TCG card, at least like from a set that wasn't a really weird promo, that just wasn't even being, and I follow a bunch of Japanese card shops on Twitter, I don't remember any card that wasn't even being advertised on any of these. Now, we could have a look over on eBay. What do we see over on eBay? $4,000 and up. $4,000, $4,200, $4,700. That is what they're being listed at. And that really shouldn't surprise anyone. I told you that the general value here is about $2,900. That was a fair value, but that's a fair value over in Japan. And if you guys can get yourselves over to Japan, and honestly, if you're saving over $1,000, it's probably worth, if you want to buy this card, it is genuinely probably actually worth flying to Japan. If you can get a cheap enough flight, you might as well fly over there and buy it in person rather than buy it on eBay. Like, there is that much of a difference. There's like a $1,200 difference. You might as well. As weird as that sounds, there is now that much of a difference. In terms of sales, there are two that have sold that I can see over on eBay, both for $4,100. Essentially, if you're selling in the US, $4,100 is your general sell it now price. You can probably get more for it. There are a bunch of people listing it for more, but if you want a decently quick sale, $4,100 is about right. So over in Japan, the general price right now is about $2,900, 415,000 yen. And over in the US, the price is about $4,100. There is about a $1,200 difference. Again, depending on where you live, the price of flights, etc. There is a genuine point here that it might actually be cheaper to fly to Japan and buy it, which is absurd. But I'm telling you, I could fly to Japan and back and get a couple nights in a hotel for less than $1,200 from the UK. As I told you at the start, this is not a hard and fast guarantee. It is a new card. It is a very rare card. It is a very valuable card. And that means that the price is going to fluctuate fairly wildly. But if you want an actual number, and I do not like making videos like this and sitting on the fence, if you want an actual number, $4,100 in the US, $2,900 over in Japan. Rough guide, not a guarantee. So there we go. I promised you the price. I told you the price. And now it's over to you guys. Is this a card you want? How much do you think the English version is going to end up as? Tell me anything you want to tell me in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about One Piece and a bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wasi Plays.